Samira is receiving some massive changes. Ryze is getting buffed in a big way, while Garen is being incentivized to build Bruiser instead of Crit. Now we have a total of 16 different champions being adjusted for 25.11, so as always, let's break all this down for you guys so that you're completely up to date with what's headed to live servers this upcoming Wednesday, May 28th. And it is no secret that League's ranking system is designed to trap you. It pulls you in with all those games where everything just clicks and you really carry hard, only to balance it all out with those frustrating matches that feel unwinnable from the very start. This cycle keeps you in that meat grinder, hoping for change, but you never quite really break through. Now, what most players don't realize is that escaping this cycle requires specific skills and strategies that are tailored to your exact rank, and that is where Skill Capped comes in. We're the only service in this entire industry that has invested millions of dollars into identifying what actually works at every tier. Our challenger coaches, they've mapped out the best and the most useful strategies that turn hard-stuck players into consistent climbers. And you can access all that expertise for less than $9 a month with our annual plan. Now, we're so confident in our method that our business model literally depends on your success. Climb at least 5 divisions while actively using Skill Cap, or you claim a full refund and we don't even ask questions about it. So stop wasting time on the ranked treadmill, man. Start climbing today with proven strategies designed specifically to break through your current rank. Check us out by clicking the link in the top right corner or in the description below. And with that being said, let's get into it. There's just one item being changed for 25.11, and it's Horizon Focus. If you guys watched our tier list from 25.10, then you'd already know that Horizon Focus got nerfed from the adjustments Riot issued, so they're going to be providing some follow-up buffs. Now, the cost of Horizon Focus is going down from 2,900 to 2,800 gold, while the AP is being increased from 110 to 115. Definitely watch out for Xerath in 25.11, as he was already one of the highest win rate mids in 25.10 and is going to be loving this buff to Horizon Focus. Now, we also wouldn't be surprised if Malignance into Horizon is back to being Ahri's most optimal 2-item core. So, first up on the buff list is Ashe, with her Q now being stackable on turrets. Diana Jungle is getting a boost to her clear speed with passive monster damage going up from 225 to 260%. Diana was hurt by the Liandry's changes last patch, so this buff should help to alleviate the effect of the Liandry's nerf. Rengar is going to be buffed in a very simple way, with his R cooldown being reduced from 110 scaling to 90 seconds to 100 scaling to 80 seconds. Ryze Q bonus damage against targets who are tagged with his E is going up from 10 scaling to 100% to 25 scaling to 100%.
W damage is going down by 10 at all ranks.
Now, despite her lower play rate lately, Sivir really hasn't been in a bad spot lately, so with her buffed for 25.11, she's definitely going to be one to watch out for. It's Sivir's W damage AD ratio that's going up from 30 scaling to 50% to 40 scaling to 50%. So even though it's the same damage at max rank, since you don't max your W out until second, this is going to be a pretty nice buff for the early to mid game of Sivir. We've got a buff to Twisted Fate's Q damage on the way, as it's going up from 60 scaling to 240 to 70 scaling to 250. AP Twitch is going to be receiving a buff for 25.11, as his EAP ratio per stack of passive is going up from 30 to 35%, with the max value going from 180 to 210%. Udyr's R and Phoenix stance is going to be buffed, with the base damage per attack being increased from 10 scaling to 30 to 10 scaling to 40. AP ratio per attack is up from 30 to 35%. Now, first up on the nerf list for 25.11 is Cho'Gath, as he ended up in a slightly more powerful spot than Riot had hoped for with his buff from 25.10. Now, it's going to be an armor nerf, with armor growth dropping from 5 to 4.5. Elise is receiving a small nerf for this patch, with her passive on-hit AP ratio dropping from 20 to 15%. So Riot's partially reverting the Lucian buff that they gave to him in 25.6, as his E cooldown is being increased from 16 scaling to 14 seconds to 18 scaling to 14 seconds. So it was originally 19 seconds at rank 1 before it was buffed a few patches ago, which means it's only 1 second less than when he was originally buffed. Ever since that buff in 25.6, Lucian has been a top tier ADC, so 6 patches later, and he likely loses that spot for 25.11. Riot overshot just a little bit with the Smolder buffs last patch, so they're pulling back just a little bit to account for it for 25.11, with his base health going down from 4.5 to 3.75, and base armor is dropping from 26 to 24. Aatrox is receiving a bunch of adjustments for this patch, with his passive damage health ratio going down from 4 scaling to 12% to 4 scaling to 8%. Q sweet spot bonus damage is being increased, though, from 60 to 70%, and W damage type is being changed from magic to physical. So overall, these changes really reward the more skilled Aatrox players players who can actually land their Qs. Now, we've had Annie in the mid lane OP tier ever since her buffs from 25.9, so Riot is going to be nerfing her for 25.11. Base armor is being increased from 19 to 23. Armor growth is going down though from 4.7 to 4. W base damage is dropping from 70 scaling to 270 to 70 scaling to 250. W AP ratio is being lowered from 85 to 80%. Riot has some pretty big changes lined up for Garen in 25.11, so let's have a look at it. W damage reduction is being changed from 30% at all ranks to 25 scaling to 41%. W cooldown is dropping from 23 scaling to 15 seconds to 22 scaling to 12 seconds. Now, there is a compensation nerf to this though, as you're no longer going to gain 10% bonus armor and magic resist at max stacks of W. E is being adjusted so that the AD ratio per spin is up from 36 scaling to 40% to 36 scaling to 44%. E base crit damage is down from 150 to 140%. Infinity Edge crit damage is being reduced from 40 to 32%. Cooldown of E is dropping significantly from 9 at all ranks to 9 scaling to 6 seconds. There are 3 nerfs to follow though, with E no longer having an additional base damage per spin of 0 scaling to 8.2. E recast no longer reduces its cooldown by its remaining duration, and then E no longer deals 150% damage to non-epic monsters. R damage is going to be nerfed, with the base damage dropping from 150 scaling to 450 to 150 scaling to 350. So overall changes that really look to promote more bruiser Garen builds as opposed to crit builds. And on paper, these changes do look like net buffs to Garen, so going to be in a likely stronger spot for 25.11. Riot has a couple of changes mapped out for Kassadin, with his base armor going up from 19 to 21. E base damage is being increased from 60 scaling to 180 to 70 scaling to 190. And R AP ratio per stack is going down from 10 to 7%. And then some of the more interesting changes to the patch are going to be to Samira, which could lead to a shift in build priority. The lifesteal effectiveness on Q is going to be increased from 66.6 to 80%. W bonus AD ratio per hit is dropping from 60 to 50%. Our lifesteal effectiveness is going up from 50 to 80%. So with lifesteal effectiveness being increased on both Q and R, we're really going to have to keep an eye out for Bloodthirster in 25.11. BT Rush has been viable on Samira, but outclassed by the Collector in recent patches, so we're going to have to see if these buffs really do change that.
Okay guys, one last thing. Our rank up guarantee is absolutely insane. It's kind of like signing up for the gym and then just getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in Skill-Capped. We obsess over making the best guides with the top players, the rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb as easy as possible. If you're ready to level up, just visit skillcapped.com and literally see the difference.
So there you have it, everyone. Those are every single one of the changes that are going to be hitting live servers this upcoming Wednesday, May 28th. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.